We now go to the gentlelady from North Carolina, Mrs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all the witnesses for being here today. We've heard multiple perspectives today on whether training AI on unlicensed copyright materials should be permitted through the fair use doctrine, and the Copyright Office considers several factors in evaluating this question of fair use. But one of those factors is the amount and how substantial the copyrighted work was that was used. And the guidance notes that in some contexts, using an even small amount of copyrighted work was determined to not be fair because the selection was an important part, or actually the heart of the work. So it could be just very small, but so have such an imprint. And that strikes me as a key factor in the consideration of AI training as well. AI is built upon creative works, whether it's art or music or writing. And AI would not exist at all if it couldn't learn from human beings. So the work that AI learns from seems to me to constitute the heart of AI itself. Now, the Copyright Office also considers whether the unlicensed use of copyrighted work would harm the existing or future market for the work, and we've heard about that. And we've heard from the creators today about how AI is already doing that. Mr. Altman has been with us this week, and I'm quoting him when he says, "When we're working on new models, where if an AI system is using your content or if it's using your style, you get paid for that." And I hope that he's going to follow through on that because as Chairman or Ranking Member Nadler told us, Mr. Altman has a lot of money to pay you. But my first question is for Professor Callison-Birch. Is it a common industry practice to keep a careful record of how and whether copyrighted works, performances, and likenesses were used to develop or train an AI data set?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Yes, it is. In fact, there was a Washington Post interactive feature published about 2 weeks ago, sort of provocatively named "The Secret Lists of Websites That Make ChatGPT So Smart." That was produced in collaboration with researchers at AI2, where I'm currently taking my sabbatical. That lets you exactly search for which websites were included in the training data of a very common training set, not necessarily the one that ChatGPT uses, but the one that many people in our industry do use.
And just as a follow-up, do you think that would make it easy to devise a compensation system since we have that trail of what's been used?
That's a great question. So I think the tricky part about creating a compensation scheme is, once again, there are 1 trillion words worth of text in our training data sets. Each author represents a vanishingly small portion of that. We do not re-perform any of the songs or texts that are in our corpus. It's not a performance-based compensation scheme that would be possible. So instead, it would have to be something to do with the volume of each person's contribution to that work. And again, I think if you do the math, it'll end up being everyone gets a check for 2 cents, which doesn't make sense.
We have similar things in the music industry, though. But I want to get on to my...
those are orders of magnitude smaller.
Yeah, to my next question, and this is for all three of our artists and creators. Some AI developers have suggested that if using copyrighted works is not deemed to be fair use, it would stop the development of AI. But I imagine that most copyright owners would be willing to license their works, to people who they would consent to license their works to, given the opportunity. So if a company wanted to license your work for AI, would you be willing to grant permission if you could agree on reasonable compensation? And you go in whatever order you would like to go.
Absolutely, yeah, of course. We're professional people. We get paid to do what we do. So why wouldn't we want to license our work, And the more work we get out there, the better it is it makes more incentive for everyone to create if there's compensation to create.
Okay, Mr. Navarro.
The if is the big part of it. If we can agree, absolutely. And if we can't agree, then I retain the right to withhold it.
I agree. Copyright protection is automatic. This can't be an opt-out. It shouldn't require an opt-in. We're protected by copyright, and most visual artists are willing to license their works for various usages. I personally have offered my works for AI training licensing for years, and stock agencies increasingly do sell licenses for AI training.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.